to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. We're moving to the next stage of this pandemic, and as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the right balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. First, a massive fire on a stricken oil tanker off Sri Lanka's coast has been extinguished, according to the island nation's Navy, as international salvage experts began to assess the damage over fears of an environmental disaster if there is a leak. The Panamanian registered new diamond carrying over 270,000 tons of crude and diesel was en route from Kuwait to the Indian port of Paradip when it issued a distress call Thursday after an engine room explosion. Now, that explosion killed a Filipino crew member. Sri Lanka's Navy Chief Nishanta Ulegetena said the fire on the tanker, which the Navy Chief and the Indian Coast Guard got under control on Friday, had finally been put out. The fire has been completely doused, according to the Vice Admiral in Colombo. The tanker's plates, he said, are still very hot, so there is a risk of reigniting new fires. The Indian Coast Guard tweeted that no flame smoke was visible from the vessel. The announcement came as Sri Lanka's Disaster Management Center said foreign salvage experts and insurance assessors had started examining the ship some 75 kilometers from the coast. 10 British and Netherlands professionals with expertise in rescue operations, disaster evaluation, and legal consultation arrived earlier Sunday, according to the Navy. Dutch firm Smith Salvage and had commissioned the experts and was also sending 2 tugboats from Singapore and Mauritius, according to the Navy. The Indian Coast Guard, which deployed 6 ships, an aircraft, and a helicopter, added on Sunday that its pollution control vessel had arrived at the site in the Indian Ocean. The rescue vessels are still dousing the tanker with water to prevent fresh fires being ignited in heavy winds lashing the hot steel plates near the burnt engine room. The tanker had suffered a crack of its hull some 10 meters, or about 33 feet, above the waterline as a result of intense heat from the fire, according to officials. Authorities said there has been no oil slick, and the crack was not considered a catastrophic structural failure. Sri Lanka's Marine Environment Protection Agency has said that legal action could be taken against the owners, Liberian-registered Porto Emporio Shipping Incorporated, should the worst happen and the ship breaks up. The vessel is larger than the Japanese bulk carrier MV Wakashio, which crashed into a reef in Mauritius in July, leaking more than 1,000 tons of oil into the island nation's pristine waters. In other news, Japanese authorities, meanwhile, temporarily suspended their search for dozens of missing sailors from a cargo ship that sank in a typhoon as waves and strong winds caused by an approaching storm hampered the operation. The Japan Coast Guard found a second survivor on Friday after the Gulf Livestock One, which was carrying 6,000 cows and had 43 crew on board, issued a distress call on Wednesday near Amami Oshima Island as Typhoon Maysak passed through the area. Typhoon Haishen, a much stronger storm, has now landed in Japan. That was late Saturday, with winds of up to 290 kilometers per hour or 180 miles per hour, making it a violent storm, the top level on the country's classification scale. A first survivor was found on Wednesday evening with the body of a second crew member recovered at sea on Friday. The Philippine Foreign Ministry said the 2 survivors, both Filipinos, had been in contact with their respective families. The crew was made up of 39 Filipinos, 2 New Zealanders, and 2 Australians. The boat, which had experienced engine problems before, had been traveling from Napier in New Zealand to the Chinese port of Tangshan. Haishen barreled towards Okinawa in southern Japan Saturday and is expected to slightly shift course towards western Kyushu, prompting the government to warn residents to prepare. Satoshi Sugimoto, an official at the Meteorological Agency, said the latest typhoon could generate high waves as powerful as a tsunami. A magnitude 6.4 quake jolted Davao Occidental late Sunday, according to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology. The tectonic quake struck 26 kilometers southeast of Don Marcelino, Davao Occidental at 11:23 p.m. It had a depth of 143 kilometers. Intensity 5, which PHIVOLCS described as strong and generally felt by people indoors and outdoors, was felt in General Santos City and Mati City. Intensity 4 was felt in Magsaysay, Davao del Sur, Coronadal City, and Intensity 3 in Kidapawan City. The following instrumental intensities were also recorded. Intensity 5 at Alabel, Malungon, Sarangani, General Santos City. Intensity 4, Coronadal City, Tupi South, Cotabato. Kiamba, Sarangani, Intensity 3, Gingoog City, Intensity 2, Bislig City, Intensity 1, Cagayan de Oro City. In an advisory, PHIVOLCS also said no destructive tsunami threat exists based on available data. Aftershocks are possible, but PHIVOLCS said it's not expecting damages from the strong earthquake. To Thailand now, where the Immigration Bureau is urging foreigners to renew their visas before the end of an exemption period, and that is on September 26. Joining us live from Bangkok, here's Gila Pablo. Hello, Gila.
Yes, hello, Alma. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all the viewers. So, according to Bangkok Post, the immigration has urged foreigners to renew their visas before the end of exemption, which falls on September 26. The Commissioner of the Immigration Bureau, Sompong Chingluang, said foreigners in the kingdom should contact immigration offices early to avoid overcrowding close to the deadline. Alma, Thailand earlier announced an exemption for foreigners whose visas expired so they could legally stay in the country until September 26 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Short-term and long-term visa holders must contact immigration offices. When the visas are renewed by September 26, the validity of the renewed visa would start from September 27, he said. Police Lieutenant General Sumpong said all short-term visa holders must leave the country by September 26. For those who cannot leave due to the flight unavailability or COVID-19 pandemic in their home country, they would need certification from their embassy or consulate for submission at an immigration office in their local area. For the 90-day report requirement, all foreigners are required to report and inform the Bureau of their residences by September 26, he said. And for more information, they can visit at www.immigration.go.th. Meanwhile, still according to Bangkok Post, the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, or BMA, has opened a website for people who want to know whether they are at risk of contracting COVID-19. That was announced by Governor Aswin Kwan Muang. Access to the online platform was made available by the BMA, who put it up following the recent discovery of a locally infected coronavirus patient. It was the first local infection in the kingdom after more than 3 months. Police General Aswin said the discovery of the patient, an inmate who was a DJ at a 2 venues before he was arrested, sounded the alarm for many people about the reality of the disease. The website was created to help ease public concern. People can visit the website, fill in online assessment form, and see whether they are at risk of contracting COVID-19. The address is http://bkkcovid19.bangkok.go.th. The governor said the website comes with a form containing various questions to determine infection risk levels. The questionnaire is designed by medical experts, academics, and BMA officials. It is also being used for patients going through a COVID-19 health check in hospitals. People tested and are divided into 4 groups: green for no risk, yellow to watch, orange at risk, and red suspected. After the form is submitted, people categorized as suspected will be called by health officials who will arrange an appointment for a coronavirus test using a swab method. Samples are then sent to a lab at the Faculty of Medicine at Warina Hospital or hospitals run by the BMA for analysis. Police General Aswin also said tests are to be conducted at medical facilities closest to people's homes, adding any related information will be strictly confidential. Back to you, Alma.
Right. Thank you very much, Gila, for your updates there in Bangkok. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Alma. And in behalf of EBC Thailand Bureau, we would like to greet the Executive Minister of Iglesia Ni Cristo for his dynamic and blessed 11 years of leadership. Again, thank you, Alma. And this is Zila Pablo reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. We live in interesting times.
An entry ban on countries with more than 150,000 COVID-19 cases. Joining us live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia is Gail Aldos. Gail.
Yes, Alma, that is true. The government will impose an entry ban on citizens of countries recording more than 150,000 cases of COVID-19 starting today, Monday, September 7th, as announced by Senior Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob. He said among the countries in the list were the United States, Brazil, France, United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Bangladesh, as well as the 3 countries announced previously, namely India, Indonesia, and the Philippines. He said more countries deemed high risk will be added which have more than 150,000 positive cases into the list. Their citizens will be barred from entering Malaysia. However, for emergency cases or involving bilateral relations, such as if a person needs to come for a meeting between countries, the government will allow entry but requires permission from the Immigration Department. Ismail Sabri added that the Health Ministry would be announcing the details on countries which have recorded more than 150,000 positive cases of COVID-19. Last Tuesday, Ismail Sabri announced an entry ban on long-term pass holders from India, Indonesia, and the Philippines beginning September 7 due to a spike in COVID-19 cases in those countries. The ban involves 6 categories of pass holders, namely those with permanent resident status, Malaysia My Second Home program participants, expatriates including professional visit pass holders and resident pass holders. Also barred were spouses of Malaysian citizens and their children, as well as students from the 3 countries who wanted to return to Malaysia. Meanwhile, Ismail Sabri said the government has no problem to allow Malaysians from high-risk countries to return home, but will be subjected to the 14-day mandatory quarantine as stipulated in the standard operating procedures. On the Embracing New Norms campaign, he said it will be carried out until December 31 to ensure the people continue to adhere to the SOP in order to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. The senior minister said various campaigns would be carried out in shopping malls, social media, and print media to ensure the SOP compliance are at the highest level. He said, as for now, the SOP compliance is high as Act 342, which is the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, is enforced and the police can carry out the enforcement. He concluded the government wants the people to keep practicing self-control such as wearing a face mask, frequently washing their hands, and maintaining physical distance. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Gail. Thank you, EBC Kuala Lumpur Bureau. You stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This is Gail Aldas, and I am also wishing our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, a happy 11th anniversary. We live in interesting times.
Thank you. All modes of transport are now allowed to operate normally in Da Nang starting September 7. Charlene Navaja joins us live from our EBC Vietnam Bureau. Hello, Charlene.
Good afternoon to you, Alma, and good afternoon to everyone. So airlines, railways, and passenger cars will be allowed to operate normally again in Da Nang starting today. So yesterday afternoon, the Ministry of Transport instructed relevant agencies to inform enterprises that all passenger transportation can resume operations to pre-COVID-19 outbreak levels in the central city. So passengers are still required to file a medical report and wear masks. So vehicles departing from Da Nang must implement social distancing between passengers. Da Nang had eased its social distancing campaign starting September 5 after bringing its COVID-19 outbreak under control. The city has passed a week with no new coronavirus infections. So it now allows restaurants, shops, food and beverage establishments to offer takeaway services. Da Nang had previously asked the Ministry of Transport to restoration of domestic transportation of road, railway and airway routes to and from the city in order to restore economic development and ensure social security. So since July 24th, when local transmissions returned to Vietnam after more than 3 months, Da Nang has had 389 COVID-19 patients. From July 28, flights, buses, as well as trains to and from the city had to cease operations completely. So now Vietnam has no new COVID-19 cases. So the count still stands to 1,049 with 786 recoveries and 35 deaths. And in business updates, Alma, so a survey done by the private Economic Development Research Board has found that nearly half of all the businesses have been forced to downsize due to the reemergence of COVID-19. The survey was done in mid-August and found that businesses had been further exhausted. Of the businesses participating in the survey, 20% had been forced to stop operating. 76% could not manage their expenses. 2% had to wind up, and only 2% remained unaffected. So businesses in the travel and accommodation sectors continued to be the worst affected since they have no contracts for the next 6 months, but still have to pay bank loans, salaries, and the others. A more serious consequence of the new outbreak is that a large wave of job cuts has started, in contrast to the first outbreak, during which most businesses tried not to lay off employees. The second outbreak has forced more than 47% of businesses to downsize. In the travel industry, most small and very small agencies have had to lay off all their employees. This rate was 80% for international travel companies and 40 to 50% for large local ones. The Vietnam Fruit and Vegetables Association and the Vietnam Pepper Association have both reported a 10% cut in jobs in their sectors. Members of the Vietnam Plastics Association have had to lay off 30 to 60% employees, while in the wood processing industry, the rate is 30%. Most businesses and business groups said surviving up to this point has required an extremely great effort, but their efforts to keep their employees, especially key personnel, have been even greater. So businesses owners recognize that the opportunity cost of mass layoffs and recruiting costs are both very high, and so have been taking many measures to retain employees. But the pressure to keep paying salaries, social and health insurance premiums, and trade union-related fees in addition to bank loans and others despite dwindling cash flows has forced their hand. Unemployment data recently published by the General Statistics Office confirms that the layoffs, and there are fears of major social problems due to tens of millions of people losing their jobs. And another noteworthy fact that surfaced in the latest survey was a decline in businesses' confidence in government's policies. So they were no longer eager to propose solutions to the government, Alma, and some even expressed disappointment that they have made suggestions, but there has been almost no change. So it called for policies that reduce businesses' outward cash flows so that they could use their already limited finances for retaining their workforce and running their business. So the board also called for reducing corporate income tax this year by 30% for all businesses, instead of just for those with revenues of 200 billion Vietnamese dong. So that's around $8.6 million. So it pointed out that while small and very small businesses might shut down immediately due to the epidemic, large businesses suffer even greater losses by trying to maintain operations. So which in turn impacts the economic more than timely support policies. So back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much for your updates there in Vietnam. Looking forward to more updates. Thank you for joining us today. Stay safe.
You too, Alma. And before I say goodbye, the Vietnam Bureau would like to greet the Executive Minister of Iglesia Ni Cristo, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, for his 11th year of outstanding leadership. God bless as you always swap. So this has been Charlene Navaja reporting live from Hanoi, Vietnam. We live in interesting times.
Okay, from Vietnam, let's now go over to Pattaya, Thailand, where the walking business owners are warning of a total collapse of their tourism industry. Let's find out why. Esther Odanga joins us live. Hello, Esther.
Hello, good afternoon, Alma, and to our viewers all around the world. So here's the latest update over here in Pattaya, Thailand. According to Pattaya News, the leading walking street business owners from seafood restaurants to small groups to bars have warned of a total collapse of the Pattaya tourist industry if Thai government does not find a way to allow in foreign tourists. Pattaya City usually has about 10 million foreign tourists a year, and last year was the 19th most visited city in the world, with about 350,000 more visitors last year than the year before. However, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus, the city has arguably been one of the most decimated in Thailand, along with Phuket and few others. Pattaya makes roughly 80% of their GDP from hospitality and tourism, according to Pattaya city leaders. The city does attract a decent amount of domestic tourism. However, with an estimated 60% of venues or more across the city closed, many people are choosing to go to other destinations. Pattaya has done better than some of the remote islands due to the proximity to Bangkok. However, the situation gets more dire the longer foreign tourists are banned from the city. As more venues close across the city or remain abandoned, homeless and stray animals have begun to grow in the city. Business owners warn of a near total collapse of the restaurant, bar, shopping, and hospitality industry in the city that goes well beyond the red light aspect, but is now starting to affect nearly every other business in the city, from transportation to tours to bus companies to attractions like water parks and cabarets to grocery stores to food vendors to shopping malls to real estate and landlords. Barbershop on Soy Buakaw are shuttered. Now many convenience stores and fast foods have shut with no foreign tourists. Many of the massage shops in the city have closed, and language schools and cooking schools that are catered to tourists and foreigners are shuttered. Even hospitals, beauty clinics, and dentists who depend heavily on the medical tourism and foreigners get dental work done in Pattaya are struggling across the city. Tens of thousands of people are already estimated to be unemployed or have left the city and returned to their home province. Alma, the Pattaya News notes that behind closed doors, business owners and economists are engaged in furious debates with leading doctors over allowing in foreign tourists. Doctors argue that letting in foreign tourists, even carefully, may start another round of infections, causing the government to lock down and shutter the entire country for several months again, causing even more economic and damage countrywide. The business owners and experts argue that staying closed for what they suggest for 6 months will see irreparable damage to the tourism infrastructure and industry for the entire country that could take a decade or more to recover. For now, all the business owners can do is wait and hope that over the next several months, the situation will improve. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much. Hopefully sooner the walking street business owners will have their businesses back, yeah, with the return of tourism in the country. Thank you for joining us today, Esther.
Thank you, Alma. And again, mula po sa ASEAN Bureau, binabati po namin ang tagapamahalang pangkalahatan na Iglesia ni Cristo, kapatid na Eduardo V. Manalo sa makapangyarihan at matagumpay na pamamahala. Suksan Juan Kopro. Reporting live from Pattaya, Thailand, this is Esther Odanga. We live in interesting times.
The country's nationwide frozen pork inventory as of August 24 rose by 8.15% to 41,851.25 metric tons from the previous week's level of 38,698.61 metric tons on the back of higher imported stocks, according to latest National Meat Inspection Service or NMIS data. Latest NMIS data also showed that the latest pork inventory was also higher than last month's 40,085.47 metric tons, and the inventory of the 36,448.23 metric tons in 2019 same period. Now, the data show that about 82.56% of the current frozen pork inventory was imported, while the remaining volume of 7,295.36 metric tons was locally produced. NMIS data also showed that Region 4A held the highest frozen pork inventory in the country at 13,036.12.08, of which 11,572.92 were imported pork products. The data covered pork products such as carcass, primal parts, and special cuts in accredited commercial and in-house cold storage, which includes slaughterhouses and meat processing plants. ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
Hello there, I'm Alfred, and I'm a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, batch of 2008 in New Era University. I'm currently working as an operations analyst in Autodesk.
Hi, I'm Earl Escanio, and I graduated with Bachelor of Science major in Computer Science in 2010. I am a consultant at Trinity Consulting LLC.
Hi, I'm Ivy Makapagal, Bachelor's in Computer Science graduate, year 2010. I'm currently working as a cybersecurity analyst in one of the largest telco here in New Zealand, Coast Park, NZ.
I'm Jofran David Riego, a BS Computer Science graduate here in 2015. As a legal analyst, I am tasked with US cases, specifically civil torts cases.
I am Melanie Rico Hermoso P, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science graduate, year 2006.
I'm currently a software quality assurance engineer at FBI Systems here in Maryland, United States.
Hi, I'm Renzo Cruz. I'm a graduate of BS Computer Science, year 2012. I'm currently working abroad, and I'm working as a senior cybersecurity consultant who specializes in digital forensics and incident response. And I am part of a national security in one of the countries here in the Middle East.
I am inviting everyone to study at New Era University to legit true grit.
Be brilliant in the new era.
Study now at New Era University.
Excellence,
Discipline,
Service to humanity.
Eagle Broadcasting Corporation is honored to have His Excellency Ambassador Songkane Langwemintone, and he talks about the Filipino community in Laos. He also shares with us his country's best practices on how it was able to successfully control the spread of the coronavirus. He also talked about the tourism industry in a post-COVID Laos. Let's watch this.
We would like to ask you, how are you? How are you during this pandemic po?
Starting from March,
Yes.
we were locked down too. Most of the time I spend in my residence here in Manila, so I could not go out so often. But fortunately, under JCQ, I managed to go out from time to time. Especially, I play golf. Play golf.
Okay.
But no shopping. I don't go shopping.
Oh, have you heard anything from our Filipino community in Laos?
Yes, certainly. We are in contact with the Filipino diplomats at the embassy in Vientiane. I think you have quite a big community there, over 2,000 Filipino working in Laos. So, but most of them, they are still working there under contract. Only some of them who have their contract ended, they come back. Last June, one repatriation flight had been conducted jointly between the Philippine Embassy in Vientiane and the Lao government. So over 125 Filipinos came back to Manila via special flights. That's but I believe Filipino community living in Laos, they are living better than us here, because the lockdown in Laos is already released, so they can go and spend their normal life already.
Yes, because Laos has been successful in combating the spread of the virus. Can you tell us what, of course the lockdown has been lifted, but what currently safety measures are in place to prevent?
Actually, this COVID-19, early on, our government have given very special attention to it, because we have the previous experience of SARS and others community diseases that spread over in Laos. So immediately, since we learned about the COVID-19, the National Ad Hoc Committee has been formed by the government, headed by the Deputy Prime Minister of Laos, included with relevant other line ministries, so that they have every day working how to prevent the spread of COVID in Laos. And since then, we have been quite successful, I would say, in cooperation, certainly with international community, especially the WHO, which is the main organization in containing this virus. And apart from that, we also working closely with our neighboring countries. We are working with China and other ASEAN member countries as well. So early on lockdown is very important. But early on lockdown, it has to come up with several measures, so that the implementation need to be very effective, so that how you can prevent contacted people from coming into your countries. That's the success story that we managed to learn from early stage of their arrival and quarantine them. So that's why actually these patients, they are on importing. I mean, they are crossing from other countries. So right now, we are still locked down in flights. So we are still very limited flights allowed to come in and go out from Laos. But with special permission, government do allow some special repatriation flights, so that those stay in Laos would like to go out, they can go out, and some Lao people also would like to go back, so they would be able to go back. But certainly it's not that easy right now. So because we are still close the border checkpoints, both inlands, we are still close. But certainly we allow on some cases, but not to disrupt economy. Transportation for goods and everything, international trade, we do allow. So we are not totally locked down. We do allow some opening, so that trade, investment, or industry could be continued without disruption. Certainly, the most affected in Laos is tourist sector, tourism, because many of the hotels, restaurants, and no foreign tourism, which is one of the main sources for our external income, but we have been affected by this COVID-19. But just to remedy the issue, we are now promoting Laos, visit Laos, meaning encourage Lao people to visit Lao provinces in other provinces, so that we can minimize the effect of the COVID-19 to our industry, especially tourist sectors. But still, we do have that issue too.
Mhm. International health organizations have praised Laos' early response for containing the coronavirus, and it's still zero fatalities until today.
Yes.
Zero fatalities. Congratulations, Mr. Ambassador, for your success in combating this disease. What can the world learn from Laos in clipping the spread of the virus? What are Laos's best practices? What can we learn from you, especially the ASEAN region, ASEAN bloc?
I think our way of doing our measures to contain the virus may be similar to each other countries. Maybe similar to the Philippines, because we have ad hoc national committee. And then in each province, we do have our committee too. Mm-hmm. In town, we do have. Even to village, they have the committee to take care or to look into the normal people. There are some people there are some Lao people who work, for example, in Thailand. Sometimes they would like to cross the border.
Yes.
Illegally, actually. Some people cross illegally. But where are they going? They are coming to the village. So we have the committee to look at the village. They would know immediately that that person is coming from Thailand. So they will quarantine him at the place. Not the central government would know what happened in the village. But I think the most effective way for us is the village committee that can monitor the incoming and outgoing people in their village. It's like in Barangay here in the Philippines. That's I think that's the one way that we can manage to do that. Secondly, we know from the beginning that our health sectors capacity is still lower compared to Philippines, to other countries. We are still lack of many equipments, many instruments to contain the virus. So we have to prevent instead of coping it with the issue. We are trying to prevent it from coming instead of coping with the COVID when it's already in the country. That's the way we are trying to do because of the lack of capacity in our healthcare sectors. Apart from that, this is internal issue. We early on have requested help from international community. I mentioned about WHO from the early start. And then with our neighboring countries, we also have a very close cooperation with China. China is the first country that they send a medical team to come to Laos to share the experience to Lao medical specialists on how to cope with COVID patients. And certainly we do receive some equipment, some protective equipment, some medicines, so that we can cope with this COVID-19. That's, I think, the experience that the Lao can share with the world. Certainly, we don't have digital observation, something like that. It's still out of our reach, but we have our monitoring from the village. That's very important.
Mm-hmm. Like most ASEAN nations, we are bracing for the twin effects of a financial and health crisis. Now, according to the World Bank, COVID-19 will worsen an already challenging situation for households already facing droughts, stagnant wage growth, rising poverty. What do you think will be the scenario in a post-COVID Laos? And do you think we will be affected as well? How will the Philippines be affected, if ever?
I think COVID-19 changed the world. We have to have our new way of living, even though hopefully we can have the vaccine sooner than later. Once we have the effective vaccine, our world, we might be managed to get on with the normal life. No more under new circumstances, I would say. But I think certainly with this nearly more than 6 months, more than half a year, 9 months already, every country affected by economic activities had been disrupted, especially for those countries that rely heavily on productions, on tourism. But for Laos, our production activities have not been disrupted for so long. It's not the case. But our industry is still small compared to the Philippines, I think. But I think the most affected is still the tourist sector in Laos economy that have been affected. But certainly investment from outside FDI, the number is going to get less. That's certainly. And then once every country, big country, they are affected by the COVID-19 too, I think the ODA also will be reduced in the next few years. I think Philippines, Laos, as the countries that receive ODA, assistance from bigger countries, richer countries. I think that number of money is going to be affected also as well. And certainly our industry, one of our big industry is production of electricity, hydropower. Hydropower is keep on going. It's not disruption. We keep on exporting to Thailand, to Vietnam. So this kind of production, we don't need so many workers to do it. So we are not affected much on that. The mining sector already working, so there is no disruption in mining sectors, which is one of the our income. That's. I think as for the Philippines, I think with the number of COVID-19 is quite a lot, and I know it's not. I think it's one of the big issue for the Philippines for the next 2 years for this government, President Duterte to work on until the next election. I think they are going to need to work harder. Because, but hopefully we can find the vaccine, so that our country can receive some vaccines from other countries as well. So,
yes, you talked about the hydropower project of Laos, which is the main, and mining. So you think this will really boost the economy of Laos and will keep it going? It won't really, it would help boost the economy of Laos.
Yes, certainly. These are two sectors that we are going to keep on with our income. But just to inform you, next year we are already finishing our high-speed rail connecting China to Vientiane, the capital of Laos. That will be another, another point of increasing tourism, incoming, outgoing, also for export our products to China. like agriculture. We can further promote our agriculture to send, as you know, we are landlocked. We are going to have now the first high-speed railway by the end of next year. It's already we are finishing, so we can connect with Yunnan, one of the southernmost province of China, but the small province of China, but they are big, you know.
Yes, indeed, they are.
Kunming, yeah, capital of Yunnan province, direct to Laos, to capital of Laos, and further on. Further on, it's going to be planned connecting to Bangkok and then to Singapore, you know, in the future ahead. So I think with the prospect of this land link, because we are landlocked, we want to be land linked, so we managed to link with our neighboring countries, so to open up the countries further for economic development. I think that will be beneficial to not only to Laos, to our neighboring countries as well. Yeah,
that's true. Do you have any last message, Ambassador, to our viewers right now who are watching you on this program?
I think my message to the Philippines audience and listeners, I would say that the Filipino people know very little about Laos. Please come to visit Laos. Laos people look the same like Filipino. We love fun like Filipino. We like receiving guests like Filipino. We always welcome guests. So Laos will be hopefully one of the destination of the listeners for them to visit. We have many World Heritage sites, but mostly it's natural and historical sites. You cannot enjoy disco there. You cannot certainly, but you can enjoy nature in Laos and enjoy how Lao people treating other people like the same Filipino. That's my message. Would like to do during this 65th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. You know, it's very long.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Maybe after the pandemic, we can come and visit you in Laos.
You are welcome. There is no visa needed, so you need only your passport.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. We hope to see you soon, and congratulations to Laos for being successful in combating this this disease. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, Ambassador.
Thank you. My pleasure meeting you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque defended the move to fill Manila Bay with artificial white sand, noting this could boost the public's mental health in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. He said amid the pandemic, we also need to take care of our mental health, and he said that walking along places like Manila Bay with white beach, quote, you can't quantify its effect to the mental health, the peace of mind, and the break. The official added that the makeover would further boost Manila Bay's image, which is famed for its beautiful sunset. Secretary Roque is confident that the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, studied the white sand project, or else it would not have pushed through with it. According to the DENR, the white sand used in the Manila Bay beach area along Rojas Boulevard is crushed dolomite boulders extracted from Cebu. The department and the Manila Bay Task Force are on phase 1 of the Manila Bay Beach Nourishment Project, with the overlaying of sand expected to be finished by September 19. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.